Good morning. Please stand for the procession. Please be seated. Good morning again. I am Dr. Thomas Kumkara, the Regional Dean of the Texas Tech University Health Science Center, Jerry H. Hodge School of Pharmacy in Amarillo. It is my pleasure to welcome students, families, and friends, faculty, and staff to the Amarillo School of Pharmacy White Coat Ceremony for the class of 2026. The White Coat Ceremony is a growing trend in pharmacy education that represents a vital step in the search to encourage attitude of humanism and professionalism. It stands for practicing pharmacist with a self-sacrifice and a sense of responsibility, treating the sick with compassion and unselfishly serving the needs of patients. Nothing magical about the white coat, but it conveys a powerful message when presented in the proper context, creating trust in the competencies and intentions of those who wear it. Here at the Texas Tech School of Pharmacy, this is also a formal welcoming event for the incoming class to our school and the profession of pharmacy. At this time, I would like to introduce the participants in today's ceremony. Please stand as I announce your names. On the stage, Dr. Grace Coe, Professor and the Dean of the Texas Tech University Health Science Center, Jerry H. Hodge School of Pharmacy. Dr. Kishal Hasi, Professor and Division Head of Adult Medicine, the Department of Pharmacy Practice. Dr. Eric McLaughlin, Professor and the Department Chair of Pharmacy Practice. Dr. Thomas Abrascado, Distinguished Professor and Chair, the Department of Pharmaceutical Sciences. Dr. Kenna Payne, Associate Professor of Pharmacy Practice and the Associate Dean for Professional Affairs. Dr. Mark Hassey, Associate Professor, the Department of Pharmacy Practice. Dr. Elizabeth Kelly, Class of 22 graduate in Amarillo. Mr. Wade K., P2 Class President in Amarillo. In the front row, Dr. Charles Seifert, Senior Executive Associate Dean and the Regional Dean of the School of Pharmacy at the Lubbock campus. Dr. Molly Mintz, Associate Dean of the Student Affairs and Admission. Dr. Russell Snyder, Associate Professor and the academic vice chair, the Department of Pharmaceutical Sciences. Dr. Terrin Bainham, assistant professor, the Department of Pharmacy Practice. Mrs. Megan Collier, project manager, communication and marketing on the Amarillo campus. Please be seated. At this time, I'd like to introduce the Dean of the Texas Tech University Health Science Center, Jerry H. Hodge School of Pharmacy, Dr. Grace Coe. She became the third dean and the chief academic officer of the school in May 2022. Dean Coe holds a PharmD from Oregon State University College of Pharmacy and a master's and PhD in public health from the University of Texas Health Sciences Center at Houston School of Public Health. Before coming to Texas Tech School of Pharmacy, her academic leadership roles include Associate Dean for Academic Clinical Affairs and the Associate Dean for Strategic Planning and Program Development at the University of California, San Diego, and the Dean of the College of Pharmacy at Oregon State University. She is an experienced academic leader with an extensive background in clinical practice and research. She is nationally recognized for her commitment to advancing pharmacy profession through interprofessional education. Greetings from the Dean of the School of Pharmacy, Dean Coe.
Thank you, Dr. Tekukamra. And good morning, everyone. On behalf of the entire faculty and staff of the Texas Tech University Health Sciences Center, Jerry H. Hodge School of Pharmacy, we welcome you to join us for this 27th annual White Coat ceremony. It is my great pleasure to introduce you and welcome the class of 2026 to the School of Pharmacy. We also thank all of you, families and friends, faculty and staff, our alumni and supporters, our partners in the community for being here. I would like to thank the many donors, including alumni and faculty this year, who donated generously to support and purchase white coats. A special shout out goes to one of our alumni, Dr. Sean Hodges from the class of 2001. This year, he started an endowed fund to support the cost of white coat ceremonies across our campuses. Today's ceremony in Amarillo marks the second of the 3 white coat ceremonies that we have. Last Saturday, our white coat ceremony took place in Dallas. Tomorrow, our white coat ceremony will be in Abilene. Our school has many amazing students. Just a few months ago, we graduated 132 students. 20 of them earned PharmD and MBA dual degrees. 31 of the graduates went on to receive postdoctoral residency training. 115 of them decided to stay here and serve in the state of Texas. Today marks the day that the class of 2026, that you enter into the family of Texas Tech University Health Sciences Center. Our culture is value-based. There are 5 values that we uphold. When you walk around the school buildings, you may have already noticed that these 5 values are posted on the wall or hanging from the ceiling. These 5 values are one team, kind-hearted, integrity, visionary, and beyond service. Let me explain these 5 values a little bit. One team. We unite and include diverse perspectives to achieve our mission. All of our courses are team taught. We value the one team spirit. We expect that during your curriculum here, that you would also be studying and collaborating with your classmates in one team. Number 2, kind-hearted. We exceed expectations with a kind heart, helping hands, and a positive attitude. So we want to instill upon you not just being very knowledgeable, very smart, and have the book knowledge. We want you to have that compassion, to be kind, to have that kind-hearted spirit and attitude to serve our patients and to treat each other. Number 3, integrity. Be honorable and trustworthy, even when no one is looking. And that is the utmost value that any pharmacist or anyone can uphold. So we want to encourage you to live up to that standard. Number 4, being a visionary. We nurture innovative ideas, bold explorations, and a pioneering spirit. And that's one of the things that drew me here is all these values, especially with being a visionary, means that we are able to dream big. And this is a big state of Texas. We, being in the West Texas, have a lot of advantages and a lot that we can give. Number 5, beyond service. We want to create and deliver positive, defining moments for each other, for our community, for our patients, for everyone, for our families as well. So, class of 2026, as you enter into the family of Texas Tech University Health Sciences Center and joining the faculty and staff together, let's strive to be one team, kind-hearted, to maintain integrity, to be visionary, and to go beyond service. The purpose of today's ceremony is to recognize the transformation of men and women in entering this class from that simply of being students to becoming student pharmacists. With the central obligations of professionalism and patient care, the white coat provides a symbol of healthcare which encompasses the aspects of pharmacy practice as well as the delivery of pharmaceutical care. Today, you are making a commitment, a strong commitment, to work for the good of patients, to be compassionate, and to uphold our organizational values. As we begin the ceremony, let me reiterate my congratulations to the class of 2026 from the entire faculty, staff, alumni on your accomplishments in reaching this significant milestone.
Our next speaker is Dr. Crystal Hasse, professor and the division head of adult medicine in the Department of Pharmacy Practice. She received her PharmD in 1997 from the University of Texas and subsequently completed a pharmacotherapy residency at the Medical University of South Carolina in Charleston, South Carolina. She is a board-certified pharmacotherapy specialist who serves as a clinical pharmacy specialist in critical care and adult medicine at the Northwest Texas Hospital. She received multiple awards, including the Teaching Team of the Year Award, the Preceptor of the Year, and University President Safety Award. History and Evolution of the Profession of Pharmacy in Current Time, Dr. Hasse.
Good morning. So I have been tasked to tell the entire history of our profession in about 5 minutes. So hold on to your hats is about all I can say on that one. So pharmacy has a really long, rich history dating back as far as medicine itself. And each step, I'll go through several different periods of time, was impacted by the science, technology, and more importantly, the people and culture that it served. So starting with ancient times, pre-literate people had a considerable knowledge of medicinal plants. And I guess you'd have to in order to survive. You wouldn't want to eat the wrong berries or something like that. They incorporated that knowledge into systems of treatment that reflected their culture. In fact, the earliest known prescriptions dated all the way back to the Sumerians in 2100 BC. So these were etched in stone and they contained formulas and directions for compounding. The papyrus ebers were a collection of 700 prescriptions that were found in Egypt dating back to 1500 BC. Now, in ancient civilizations, medicine and the treatment of disease were interwoven also with religion and elements of magic, and those eventually began to part ways. The Greeks and the Romans were responsible for several advances in our profession, and in fact, the origin of the word pharmacy is thought to come from the Greek word pharmakon, which means remedy. Greek medicine brought forth the idea of a natural basis for disease, though ironically, the two major Greek gods continue to serve as the symbols of the medical profession. The staff of Asclepios is the official symbol of medicine, and then the bowl and serpent, which are actually on the front of the stage here, are said to belong to his daughter Hygeia and are the universal symbol for pharmacy. RX is defined from the Latin term recipe. The Greeks and Romans contributed to pharmacy through more rational, critical, and sophisticated approaches to using medicines. Until the Middle Ages, the roles of the pharmacists, the physicians, and in some cases priests were intermingled. Arab civilizations were known to advance pharmacy practice to its own separate identity and independence. Both pharmacies and pharmacy shops existed at this time, and pharmacists had formal delineation of their duties and responsibilities. They also expanded the knowledge of the chemistry of medicines and the trade of those substances. In 1240 AD, Frederick II, the Emperor of Germany, actually issued an edict that formally separated the roles of doctors and pharmacists into their respective professions and put governing regulations in place. Another form of regulation also came about. The first drug reference book was created in 1618. This was known as the London Pharmacopoeia, and it was a master list of all medicines that were known at the time, and it was done so that they could regulate what was being sold in apothecaries and produced at that time. With the discovery of the New World, there was an additional knowledge of a number of many new plants and substances. As an example, Peruvian bark, or cinchona, had antimalarial properties and is utilized in derivations of drugs related to that to this time. Rarer drugs also became more plentiful. The role of the pharmacist stayed about the same during this time, but the period was marked by the development of labor guilds and other groups that regulated training and practice. And so that brings us to the modern age, and there were two different major revolutions during this time that affected the modern age: the intellectual and the industrial revolutions. So the intellectual revolution manifested in the 18th century, and that was when it brought about a modernization or a weeding out of false remedies, or as you probably heard of them, the snake oils, as well as testing of drugs to make sure they actually do something. In the 1700s, an apothecary with appropriate training could prescribe and administer medicines and could actually charge for advice. A few pharmacists came to the New World early, but in the late 18th century, you could find drugstores in all American cities. The first licensed pharmacist in the United States actually has an interesting story. He was licensed in Louisiana. He opened his own pharmacy in New Orleans, and like many, sold traditional medicines and had a soda fountain. He also offered opium, leeches, and voodoo remedies in his store. The first college of pharmacy was the Philadelphia College of Pharmacy. It was established in 1821. Now, pharmacy education has changed quite a bit from then. Programs at that time were only 3 years. Sorry, you'd be done by now. And they have now expanded to 6-year curricula, the advent of residency training, and the PharmD, which came much later. Unfortunately, the quality and practice of pharmacy in the 1800s was really varied, and especially in less populated areas. And so it was also a problem that a lot of drug supplies were imported to the United States and often were not of good quality. So to combat issues related to those things, the 5 colleges of pharmacy that existed at the time met to discuss that, and several other major issues, and what resulted was the founding of the first pharmacy organization, the American Pharmaceutical Association, in 1852. The Industrial Revolution significantly impacted pharmacy by facilitating the manufacturing of medicines on a large scale. And many of the manufacturers that were around at that time, if you trace the names, were precursors to modern-day pharmaceutical companies. The first commercial drug was mass-produced in 1883. The drug was antipyrine, which is similar to ibuprofen or other NSAIDs that we take today. Pharmacists' roles based after the Industrial Revolution became less of an apothecary and more of a distributor of products. And this really challenged pharmacists' role in the setting of public health. As an example, in the 1920s, 80% of prescriptions were compounded prescriptions, so the pharmacists made those. In the 1940s, that decreased to 26%, and 30 years later was less than 1%. So I'll shift gears and talk about some other aspects of our profession. The first hospital pharmacy was co-founded by Benjamin Franklin in 1752 in Philadelphia. The majority of progress in hospital pharmacy occurred in the 1920s, and so hospitals now are a rich alternative for professional practice for pharmacists. Clinical pharmacy concept arose in the 1940s and really gained prominence through the 60s. It originally was an offshoot of hospital practice, but it arose from a desire for more direct role in providing care to patients. Clinical pharmacy provides a wide array of services. They review and analyze patient information, select, dose, and monitor drugs, work with healthcare teams, and educate patients and staff. Clinical pharmacy has expanded in a number of areas, and roles of pharmacists in all settings will continue to expand as the science and technology advance and the needs of those patients that we serve become more complex. So I'll close with a couple of cool things that I found that pharmacists have done. Who are my soda drinkers in the audience? People like sodas, Cokes, as we call them in Texas. All right, a few people. So a pharmacist did create Coca-Cola as a medicinal product, and it contained cocaine until 1903. So we don't quite get the kick from it that they used to. Pharmacists also created Dr. Pepper, Pepsi, and ginger ale. Those were all invented by pharmacists. Agatha Christie, if you're a reader, was a pharmacy technician, and that explains why many of the poisons in her books were her weapon of choice. A pharmacist discovered penicillin, has served as vice president, separated morphine from opium, and established the hotness scale for chili peppers, and created sunscreen. And so I'll close with that. And so for those of you that are in the audience that are becoming pharmacists, just know there's all sorts of cool things that pharmacists can do through innovation. Thank you.
The next is Dr. Eric McLaughlin, Professor and Chair of the Department of Pharmacy Practice. He is also a clinical professor at the TTUHSC School of Medicine. He received his PharmD from the Medical University of South Carolina and completed a primary care specialty residency at the University of Colorado. His practice specialty in family medicine. His research interests include the management of cardiovascular diseases, particularly hypertension. He is one of the co-authors of the 2017 Guideline for Prevention, Detection, Evolution, and Management of High Blood Pressure in Adults. The vision of the future of pharmacy practice, Dr. Eric McLaughlin.
Welcome, class of 2026 and family and friends. Dr. Hodge talked a little bit about the history of pharmacy. I'm going to talk about the future of pharmacy because right now it's a really exciting time to be involved in the profession. Over the past decades, last 2 decades in particular, and especially over the past 3 years during this pandemic, the practice of pharmacy has really continued to advance quite quickly in both the role and scope. Once thought of as primarily a profession responsible solely for preparing, dispensing, and counseling medications, pharmacists are becoming even more essential part and accountable for drug therapy management and part of team-based care as part of the team. Working as a team, pharmacists now work with physicians, nurses, and others to provide comprehensive medication management. In this capacity, pharmacists essentially are responsible for the patient's drug therapy, including selection of what meds we're going to use, the dosing, monitoring, and follow-up. This is happening right now, but I think in the future you're going to see this becoming even more and more prominent and commonplace, especially as the focus in healthcare continues to shift towards use of team-based care to improve healthcare outcomes and decrease costs. There are a lot of studies out there available right now that demonstrate that pharmacists, as part of this healthcare team, can improve outcomes and decrease costs of care. In the community setting, pharmacists right now, their roles are expanding, working with other healthcare professionals to provide that team-based care. I was looking at some of the literature out there, and an example of that is even just this last December, it was reported that CVS is piloting embedding physicians in their minute clinics, which will enable pharmacists then to provide team-based care and provide comprehensive management right in those community pharmacies. A few months ago, the FDA authorized pharmacists to prescribe the antiviral drug Paxlovid. And so with that expansion, obviously a lot of responsibility, looking for drug interactions, calculating kidney function to make sure that that drug is going to be safe and dosed appropriately. With the expansion of robotics and technician responsibilities, pharmacists are going to be spending more and more time out there with the patient and less time behind the counter. In ambulatory care settings, advanced trained pharmacists right now are acting essentially as mid-level providers where patients make an appointment, visit us, and the visit runs just like it would with a physician's visit. The pharmacist is able to write prescriptions, coordinate drug therapy under a collaborative drug therapy management agreement. And this is happening right now, not just in academic medical centers, but also out in private practice. In the future, you're going to see this becoming more and more commonplace. Last year, the Texas legislature passed provider status for pharmacists and an insurance parity law that will allow pharmacists, once they get the regs written, to bill for any service that's within their scope of practice and is paid for by another healthcare professional. So in the future, outpatient clinics are going to be routinely have pharmacists in them as key members of their practice. And it's not just in the community or outpatient setting. In the hospital, pharmacist roles will also continue to expand. They're already considered essential members of critical care teams, again, interdisciplinary critical care teams, providing care, doing infectious disease stewardship programs. Their roles will continue to expand in other specialty areas as well, including cardiology, emergency medicine, oncology, and surgery. Now, along with the roles of pharmacists continuing to evolve, healthcare technology will continue to expand as well. And that's another part of the revolution that I think is going to have a big impact on pharmacy. Through advances in technology, pharmacists are now discovering new ways to help patients. Telepharmacy, where pharmacists can communicate and counsel patients in rural areas using teleconferencing or mobile health software, will continue to expand. It really grew with COVID. I found myself doing Zoom appointments with patients during the pandemic. As EHRs, or electronic health records, improve, these systems will eventually be able to talk to pharmacy systems. How cool would it be if you're a pharmacist in a community setting and be able to look at the profile and see actually all the labs, all the other diagnostic information, so you can provide better medication management services. Other areas that will continue to improve include personalized medicine, where we can actually map someone's DNA, or pharmacogenomics is what we call it, and individualize drug therapy. So once we know that genetic code, we can find out what drug would be safest and maybe most effective for that specific patient. The mobile health revolution, from a technology standpoint, will also have a big impact on pharmacy, both from a hardware and a software perspective. In our clinic, this last year, we actually did a study looking at continuous glucose monitoring, where a small disc is placed on the patient's skin, can actually monitor someone's blood glucose, reads it to their phone, and then we use that information to adjust a patient's insulin or diabetes regimen. Smartphones, again, will continue to improve and advance. Apple bioengineers right now are already working on sensors and interchangeable smart watches for non-invasive monitoring of blood glucose. They're looking at blood pressure. Just about a month ago, there was a report on a temporary e-tattoo that some bioengineers developed. Little tattoo on the wrist that can actually invasively monitor blood pressure, record the results throughout a 24-hour period, and submit that data to someone's iPhone. And again, that data can then be transmitted to the patient's pharmacist or their primary care provider to then manage drug therapy. The possibilities are really almost limitless. So the future of pharmacy, again, it continues to evolve with our roles and with new technology and legislation. It's a really exciting time to be part of the profession. I'm super excited to see where we go as a profession, and y'all are going to be a big part of shaping our future. And I look forward to seeing you help lead the way. Thank you.
The next speaker, Dr. Thomas Aperscado, is a university distinguished professor and the department chair of pharmaceutical sciences. He is also the associate dean of the TTUHSC Graduate School of Biomedical Sciences. Dr. Aperscado received his PhD in pharmacology and toxicology from the University of Arizona and completed a National Research Service Award postdoctoral fellowship from NIH before joining the School of Pharmacy. He is a National Institute of Health funded investigator with multiple grants focused on understanding how the brain responds to stroke. His research aims to make significant scientific discoveries that will translate to novel treatments in patients to improve brain recovery after stroke. He has published over 105 peer-reviewed, high-impact research articles with the 4,000 citations and is the chair of the NIH study session. The history of the Texas Tech University Health Science Center, Jerry H. Hodge School of Pharmacy, Dr. Abascado.
Good morning, everyone. As a faculty of the Jerry H. Hodge School of Pharmacy since January of 2000, it's my absolute pleasure to go over some of the history of the School of Pharmacy. In 1993, the 73rd Texas Legislature approved the establishment of the Texas Tech University Health Sciences Center School of Pharmacy right here in Amarillo. It created the first publicly supported pharmacy school in the U.S. in nearly 5 decades. With the help of the Amarillo community, the Amarillo Economic Development Corporation, the Amarillo Hospital District, in August of 1996, the School of Pharmacy opened its doors for the first class with 65 students under the leadership of our founding dean, Dr. Arthur Nelson. I had the privilege actually of joining the program just before the graduation of that inaugural class of the School of Pharmacy. In a brief time, under the leadership of Dr. Nelson, the program grew significantly, with now 4 campuses in Amarillo, Abilene, Dallas, and Lubbock. School of Pharmacy consistently ranks in the top third of the nation's accredited colleges of pharmacies in schools. Currently, we have admitted 100 first-year students through a very selective process. About 2/3 of our P1 students have bachelor's degrees. Here on the Amarillo campus alone, we have 111 students that end up registering every semester. Of our Amarillo student body, they represent 10 different countries. Approximately 70% of our students also receive scholarships for support of their education. Our current total enrollment is 459 students. Importantly, the overwhelming majority of the students who have graduated from the program remain here in Texas. It's a very unique program, and it offers one of the most comprehensive pharmacy education and training programs in the U.S. Students receive more clinical training hours than students from any other pharmacy school in the country. We're actually one of 3 pharmacy schools within the U.S. that require rural professional practice rotations for graduation. And as of August 2022, the School of Pharmacy has graduated over 2,500 students. In 1997, the school started its residency program for pharmacists to be educators and practitioners. This year, we have currently 17 pharmacy residents on all 4 campuses of the program. Also, greater than 30% of our graduates end up choosing to do a residency before they enter the workforce. In 1998, the school established its graduate program in pharmaceutical sciences, where we offer master's and PhD degrees in pharmaceutical sciences. We started off admitting only a few students. Currently, the program has grown to have a total enrollment right now of 5 master's and 40 PhD students on the Amarillo and Abilene campuses. The graduate program has conferred over 130 PhD degrees and master's degrees since the inception. And the PharmD and PhD programs have also attracted excellent research faculty to the school. And now the School of Pharmacy ranks in the top third in the nation in research with some of the endpoints. In 2003, the School of Pharmacy started hosting the Texas Panhandle Poison Center, one of the 6 poison centers in the state of Texas, aimed to provide sufficient information to be able to treat a poisoning incident at home. And it also sponsors a nationally recognized medication cleanout program that serves our community on several of our campuses. In 2007, we joined with TTU Rawls College of Business, offering a combined PharmD MBA program degree. This is the only pharmacy school in the Southwest U.S. to provide a joint PharmD MBA degree, and the only pharmacy school in the nation to offer the MBA before PharmD graduation. So far, a total of 158 students have graduated with this dual degree from our program. And we've also just started a joint PharmD MPH program with the TTUHSC Department of Public Health. In 2012, the founding dean of the school retired, and Dr. Quentin Smith became the dean of the School of Pharmacy. The Department of Pharmaceutical Sciences School and School of Pharmacy and the Health Sciences Center made some strategic investments to grow in new research areas, both to benefit research and teaching, including medicinal chemistry and drug discovery. As a faculty researcher and the chair of a department that does a significant amount of research, I'm proud to see that these investments have paid off immensely for the school and institution, with the current NIH and CPRIT funding levels that exceed $3 million a year. And this most importantly, consists of innovative collaborative drug discovery projects to find better therapies for hard-to-treat diseases such as stroke and cancer. An example of this is right here at the School of Pharmacy, recently receiving a $2.7 million Cancer Prevention Research Institute grant that provides an imaging core facility to support state-of-the-art whole animal imaging and super resolution confocal microscopy here on the Amarillo campus. As a chair of the Department of Pharmaceutical Sciences, I can promise to you, you'll get the opportunity to interact in the classroom, research labs, and clinics with some of the most innovative scientists and clinical educators who are fully committed to student success. Please take advantage of the many research opportunities on the Amarillo campus as you progress through your pharmacy degree. We are also very excited with our new leadership with Dr. Grace Kuo as our new Dean of the School of Pharmacy since May. She was previously a professor of pharmacy practice and public health at both University of California, San Diego and Oregon State University, and Dean of Oregon State University. She brings her extensive experience in all areas of pharmacy practice in novel research and professional education, which I know will help galvanize our future research growth. We have also recently welcomed the Texas Tech System School of Veterinary Medicine right here in Amarillo. 2 state-of-the-art buildings have been recently completed and are used currently for clinical instruction, surgery, husbandry, skill development, and large animal housing. We have about 50 new veterinary science faculty that have already been hired to start this program. The TTU School of Veterinary Medicine is now welcoming its second veterinary class of 2026 with about 60 new students. We're also expanding our School of Pharmacy programs related to veterinary pharmacy and compounding in collaboration with the School of Veterinary Medicine. And we'll continue to develop fruitful scientific collaborations with our School of Veterinary Medicine colleagues. With all this growth and success, it is definitely an exciting time on the Amarillo campus. And on behalf of all the faculty and administration, we are very excited to work with each and every one of you to achieve success in your pharmacy education. Thank you.
Dr. Elizabeth Kelly is a registered pharmacist in Amarillo. She started her pharmacy education after completing a BA in Biblical Studies and prerequisite courses from the Amarillo College and West Texas A&M University. She completed all 4 years in Amarillo and graduated in May 2022. While in school, she was involved in numerous volunteer activities, including immunization clinics at the Amarillo VA Hospital for Veterans, medication cleanout, and children and youth ministry. She was a recipient of the Texas Pharmacy Foundation and the Amarillo Area Foundation Fellowships. She exemplifies a student who set realistic goals and can balance school and family. Advice from the alumni, Dr. Kelly.
So, sorry. One morning of my P2 year, I was getting ready for the school day, like normal. My kindergarten daughter, Maple, came to me telling me that she didn't feel good. I checked her temperature, and I checked her throat, and by the looks of things, I knew that this day wasn't gonna go as planned. Maple needed to go to the doctor, and the 2 conflicting responsibilities that I had, my husband was out of town for work, and some of my classes had mandatory graded attendance. The situation of this day is one of many of the times in the past few years that I needed to find balance between my life as a mom and a pharmacy student. Going to pharmacy school with kids, it sounds crazy, and at times it was. But if any of you new students also have kids, please know that you can do this successfully. I was asked to talk about my experience as a mother and a pharmacy student and finding the balance between these roles. To me, balance meant trying to be the best mom and the best pharmacy student that I could be. It meant focusing on both areas of my life without excluding one of them. This was difficult because there were times when one side needed more attention than the other. You need to get organized and have a plan. The most important tool that helped me, both as a pharmacy student and a mom, was a schedule. You need a schedule that addresses both your school and your home life. Keep track of due dates because you may not get a reminder, and if you do, it may not be soon enough to get a good enough grade. A schedule will also help you keep track of upcoming school events and appointments, and so you're not as surprised by a ballet recital or a doctor's appointment that you forgot about. I've experimented with different types of schedules during my school career, from a shared Google Calendar to a magnetic whiteboard that sticks to our fridge. The most effective scheduling tool for me was a printout that I made in Excel that had every hour of the day that I had planned to tell me when I needed to study and when I needed to make dinner and when I needed to put kids to bed. And so experiment with what works best for your family, and don't be afraid to change it up if you find something that works better. I know that not all of you have children, but you do have family or friends who will want your attention. And it is important to figure out how much time you need to study and how much time you can devote to those other things. Make a schedule and try to stick to it, and because if you do not, it will be more challenging to find balance. You will play tug of war with your responsibilities. Also, don't procrastinate, because something may come up, like a child who is sick or possibly needs to go get stitches because they tripped and hit their head on a park bench. And now you're in the urgent care with a bloody towel instead of working on your project that is, thankfully, because you didn't procrastinate, due in 2 weeks instead of in 2 days. When I started pharmacy school, I knew it was going to be hard. I just didn't know how hard. Having 3 young children, Grace was 7. Sorry. Maple was 4, and Dalton was 2. Sorry, I was not going to get emotional. It was definitely a challenge. So with the support of my supportive husband, who would stay home with 6 children when possible, I usually did not miss class, and supportive student services, who would talk to professors and the experiential office, who would talk to preceptors for me a couple of times when he couldn't take care of children and I had to miss class or rotation. Another important part of finding balance is to surround yourself with people who can help when needed. If you need to hire a house cleaner so that you don't have to take time away from family and studying and sleep, do it and don't feel bad about it. Study groups, especially small ones, can be helpful to keep you accountable for material and help you understand things better, as someone else may have understood things differently and can explain it to you. COVID made studying together much harder, but I had made friends with a Dallas student, and we would study over Zoom. And so if you need help in a class, talk to student services about getting a tutor. They are very helpful. If you still don't understand the material, talk to your professors. They are there to help you become a successful pharmacist, and they will help you. So, also, you need a study regimen, and you need to be willing to change that up. In my first semester of pharmacy school, biochem was bad. I had failed 2 of my first 3 tests, and I knew that I needed to change something if I was going to succeed. So I got a tutor. I started to at least glance at the material before class and then go through my notes that evening. I increased the amount of time that I was studying for that class to accommodate that. Unfortunately, that took a little bit more time away from other classes, but because I was just studying more efficiently instead of cramming before the tests, it was not much extra time, and it didn't cut into family time. My next 3 tests were all in the 90s. The practice of changing things up is supported by a 2020 study from the Washington State University College of Pharmacy students. One of the behaviors demonstrated by high-performing pharmacy students was a refined ability to select and modify study behaviors to aid in their academic success. So be willing to change things up if they are not working for you to succeed. So how can you balance your grades and your children's grades along with your health and well-being with your family and still have time to study? Honestly, it's going to look different for different people. And you need to find what works best for you. These are the things that I did, and you need to find what works for you. You also need to communicate honestly with your spouse or significant other or whoever it is that's going to have to pick up the slacks and to help raise your children. When you spend time with your family, try to be present. Pay attention to them. And let them know that they are loved and important to you. To your spouse or significant other or whoever, let them know that you appreciate them and all that they do so that you can succeed. My children are now 11, 8, and 6. I have graduated pharmacy school, gotten licensed, and I'm getting ready to start my career as a pharmacist. It was difficult, and I made the commitment because I knew it was worth it. I succeeded, and so can you. So congratulations on getting here, and remember that you can do it.
Mr. Braden Kay is a P2 student on the Amarillo campus. He received his Bachelor of Science in Biology in 2021 from West Texas A&M University. He began his pharmacy education at the TTUHSC School of Pharmacy in the fall of 2021. He is currently the class president, expected to graduate in May 2025. He is a member of Phi Delta Chi student organization. During his P1 year, he volunteered in the COVID-19 testing clinic and MediPark community cleanup activities. Advice from the P2 class president, Dr. K. Mr. K.
First off, congratulations on making it through orientation week and making it one small little step closer in reaching y'all's goals of becoming pharmacists. I remember sitting in y'all's exact position this time last year, excited for what was to come, but also nervous for how different pharmacy school was going to be compared to undergrad. This is a whole new setting for each and every one of you, and I'm sure some of y'all are nervous about this upcoming school year, but I can assure you it is nothing to be nervous of. My first piece of advice to you all is that I encourage you to get to know your classmates very well. You are going to be spending a lot of time together both in and out of class, more than you realize. After completing our first year earlier this spring, me and my classmates looked back and realized that we spent a lot of time together, and I can only imagine how much more difficult this first year would have been without them. My next piece of advice to y'all is I encourage you all to join an organization, to be active within this school. That will help you get to know your classmates better, but also give you different opportunities for volunteering, creating events that not only will help you, but also other members of this community. I know some of the different organizations do more than just local events. They do different things nationally that will help you network and get to know other people within the profession. And I know some of y'all are currently interested in attending residency, and being involved is one of the best ways that y'all can get become a unique applicant. My last piece of advice is a little bit different. I think a lot of my classmates will agree with it, and that is that you do not need to study every single day in order to do well in this program. You are going to be busier, and you are going to have to study a lot more than you have years prior. But if you are going to be studying every day and pressuring yourselves, you are going to run the risk of burning out and losing your motivation. I think it is super important in making time to do something that you enjoy and hanging out with family and friends, and not forcing yourself to do schoolwork all the time. I wish you all the best of luck on your first day and your first year as P1s. Once again, congratulations. Thank you.
Dr. Kenna Payne is an Associate Professor of Pharmacy Practice and the Associate Dean of Professional Affairs at the School of Pharmacy. She received her PharmD from the Texas Tech University School of Pharmacy. She is a board-certified pharmacotherapy specialist. Her current clinical practice focuses on inpatient family medicine. She is a recipient of the President's Excellence in Interprofessional Teamwork, the Most Influential Professor Award, and the Preceptor of the Year Award. Dr. Payne described the symbolic meaning of the white coat ceremony and the signing of the Code of Ethics.
Thank you, Dr. Thekamkara, and welcome again, class of 2026. Well, we've got you all in here, dressed up, looking really nice, but what is the point of this ceremony? Why are we here? Why are we pulling you away from a Saturday before you start classes? Well, white coat ceremonies are held by several different professions within the healthcare setting. Both MD, PA, dentistry, pharmacy. And so why do we place such an importance on this ritual? And I think in order to really understand this, we really must understand the meaning of the white coat and what it symbolizes for us. From a practical standpoint, a white coat is simply a covering to keep your clothes clean. It's a uniform in some cases. Some people would consider it a fomite or a carrier of germs. But the white coat, I feel, is more than these things. So I want to back up a little bit and talk about the history of the white coat. So why did it become so important in the profession of pharmacy? Well, the scientific laboratory coat was adopted by physicians in the 1900s. Prior to that time, they wore black for patient interactions, as medical encounters were thought of as serious and formal matters. But as the basis of the practice of medicine shifted from mysticism to scientific medicine, from quackery to bioscience, they shifted to white. The white coat not only symbolized the new basis of practice, but also the attributes they wanted to portray to their patients. White is symbolic of purity, truth, healing, and life. Community pharmacists adopted this practice in the 1950s, but it took longer to get to the hospitals. It was the late 70s to 80s before pharmacists could wear the white coat in the hospital, as they might be mistaken for physicians. So what does the white coat symbolize today? That you're involved in healthcare, that you're a professional, that you're extremely important, that you are unapproachable and shouldn't be talked to unless there's the symbol there for you to be able to do that. I believe that the white coat symbolizes patient trust and responsibility for patient care. However, it is still a mode of communication. It indicates to patients and other healthcare professionals who you are. There are different lengths of white coats. Y'all's are hip length versus the knee length coats. And it communicates to non-healthcare workers that you are someone who is dedicated to taking care of patients. So what does the white coat mean to me? Well, this is an honor that you must earn, an expectation that you must meet. A welcome to the profession, but not without expectations. Over the next 4 years, your professors will teach you many things: the human body and its illnesses, the multitude of medications available to treat those illnesses, and the plethora of details about those medications. But one of the most important is professionalism. It is a symbol of the seriousness of purpose, the standard of professionalism and empathy, the trust of your patients, and the trust of the healthcare providers that rely on your expertise. You will grow as a professional throughout pharmacy school. So each time you put on your white coat, you should think about your responsibility to patients and the care that you provide for them. It is not just the act of patient care that teaches you to become a compassionate, honest, competent pharmacist, but it is the thought behind the actions, the understanding of why we perform these actions. To earn patient trust, to show our patients compassion and respect, and to take care of them, to improve their life. At first, the white coat is a source of pride, like today, okay? After I talk to you, maybe now it's a source of anxiety. But it always means responsibility. Therefore, as Dr. Kuo stated, this ceremony marks the transition of you from a pharmacist, or from a student to a student pharmacist, and it adds to you the responsibilities that come with that transition. During this ceremony, as you're up here on stage, after you get cloaked in your white coat, you will also sign the Code of Ethics for Pharmacists. While you're up here, it's a little stressful. You will probably not really be able to focus on what you're signing. If you do, we're going to get a serious backlog, so maybe don't do that. But I recommend that you take some time later to review the principles included in this code. It reflects the general principles that I have talked about when discussing the meaning of the white coat: respect, compassion, integrity, and competence. As you sign the Code of Ethics and recite the oath of a pharmacist, you are dedicating yourself to patient care and a lifetime of learning and service. Therefore, it takes much more than just knowledge and passing your classes to become a pharmacist. It takes professionalism, expertise, compassion, integrity, and respect for others. So concentrate on developing each of these characteristics every time you put on your white coat, and by the time you are done, you will no longer have to think about it, for you will exhibit these characteristics every single day. Thank you.
And this is the time we are all waiting for. Please stand the stage to take your places. And also the students in the first row, please stand.
Our first white coat cloaking goes to Faye Al-Samarai. Reagan Bills. Abigail Nicole Boning. Blaine Boyd. Addison Berkeley Burrier. Lauren Covey. Amy Cox. Devin Damron. Suha Garasia. Emily Rose Garcia. Macy Godby. Darian Taylor Higgins. Roberto Jimenez. Ramana Khan. Whitley LaRue. Kaylee Grace Lawler. Taylor Mai Lee. Gabriel Lopez. Kylie Miller. Grace Onaiwu. Genesis Nieves. Yang Pui Tonga. Madeline Marissa Villanueva. JC Dawn Westfall.
The class of 2026. Please give a round of applause.
Class of 2026, in about 3 minutes, you're going to take the oath. That means that you are going to make a strong commitment to do your best to care for others. This starts today as you begin your pharmacy career, not 4 years from now when you earn that Doctor of Pharmacy degree. And I'm pretty sure that your family and friends, starting from today, if not already have done so, will start asking you questions about medications. With the entire faculty and staff and our alumni, we want to instill in each of you a sense of pride in your chosen profession that affirms your commitment to the profession of pharmacy. And I know that at the beginning of this ceremony, we have already introduced some of our faculty and staff here, but at this moment, I also would like to ask all of them to stand because all of them are devoted into teaching the next generation of pharmacists, including the class of 2026. So please, everyone who is a faculty, staff, or working at Texas Tech, please stand up. Let us acknowledge you and thank you for being here. Please be seated. And consider the magnitude of the promises that you are going to make through the oath. As Dean of the School of Pharmacy, I hereby charge you to become the Texas Tech Raider Student Pharmacist. What do I mean by Raider? R-A-I-D-E-R? Let me explain. R, be respectful. Respect your patients and put the interest of your patients before your own. To respect and value your fellow health professionals and coworkers. To respect, to support, and to encourage your peer friends, your classmates, your faculty, and your staff. A, to advance. To pursue your education and training diligently from today until you retire from your practice. Become lifelong learners. To strive to be worthy of the privilege of being a doctor of pharmacy, a privilege that you should never abuse. I, innovative, inspiring, inspirational, igniting that curiosity in your learning. The Texas Tech Pharmacy program offers more rotations hours than any schools that I know of. And earlier on, during the introduction, you've heard that I've been to several schools of pharmacy, including Oregon State University, including the University of California in San Diego. And let me tell you this, that this is the only program that I've been to, and this is one of the very few, if it's not the only, pharmacy school that offers rotations in pediatrics and geriatrics and in rural health rotations in experiential education. This is the only school of the schools that I've worked at, the schools that I've been to, the schools that I've visited that have compounding labs, not only in one campus, but in 3 campuses. This is the only school of pharmacy that I've heard of that have dual degrees that allow students to be able to finish PharmD MBA and PharmD MPH all in 4 years without additional tuition, without additional times to complete. This is a very unique school of pharmacy. This is a very innovative program. We currently, as you have already heard, offer these dual degree programs. In the future, and even now as we speak, we are also creating additional concentration, certificate, and possibly dual degree programs. I encourage all of you, class of 2026, to take the advantage of joining student orgs. You've already heard, we have about 22 student orgs right now. We may have even more in the future. So the future depends on you. We are so excited that you're here. You will have the opportunities to explore honor research projects with world-renowned scientists right here in our school. You would have, for those of you who are interested in global health, you will have, we have global health initiatives. We have interprofessional teamwork and education and collaboration with graduate students, with medical students, with nursing students, students of health professionals, and veterinary medicine students here, as well as students of population and public health. Please take advantage to study with your classmates, to make lifelong friends, to be active participants in this program. D, diversity, equity, and inclusion. To embrace and to integrate diversity, equity, and inclusion into your pharmacy practice. And here within this group today, see if I remember this correctly, we have 2 students from Puerto Rico. We have 1 student from Southern Texas, 1 from Austin area, 4 from Dallas area, 1 from Colorado, 1 from New Mexico. I hope I didn't miss anyone here. If I did, I promise I would take you to lunch. So we have a very broad scope of the class of 2026. We are so excited that you come and have chosen West Texas in Amarillo. We want to celebrate that diversity. E, excellence, exemplary, to behave honorably throughout your career, to adhere to the student honor code that you've assigned, and the rules of the university, and of course the rules of the profession through the oath that we're about to read. Lastly, but not least important, is R, to be reflective, to pause, to reflect upon what you have learned in school and in life, to take care of yourself and to take care of others, but you have to make sure that you know how to take care of yourself first, to maintain your well-being and to be resilient. So now, class of 2026, you have our commitment to assure you that over the next 4 years and beyond, you will be developing into outstanding clinicians, pharmacists with the knowledge, the skills, the attitudes, and the values that are necessary for you to exceed the expectations of your patients and your communities. So congratulations, class of 2026, and welcome to the Jerry H. Hodge School of Pharmacy at Texas Tech.
Dr. Mark Hasse is an associate professor in the Department of Pharmacy Practice. He received his PharmD from the University of Minnesota and completed a pediatric specialty residency at the Medical University of South Carolina. He is a board-certified pharmacotherapy specialist. His primary practice area is pediatric intensive care. He received numerous awards, including the School of Pharmacy P3 Teaching Team of the Year Award, Pediatric Pharmacy Advocacy Group Best Practice Award, Texans Caring for Texans Public Service Award, and TSHP Innovative Collaborative Practice Award. Oath of the Pharmacist led by Dr. Hasse.
Thank you. To the audience members who happen to be pharmacists, in a moment we'll be reciting the oath, and if you would like to stand and join us, we'd love to have you do that. Same with the panel here. Just a brief word, and I promise I'll be brief, to the class of 2026. Congratulations again. You've heard a lot of great advice this afternoon, and I wanted to just preface the oath with some thoughts about it. Hopefully, this first couple of weeks, you've had some fun getting to know your classmates and the excellent staff we have here and the faculty. There'll be some fun times ahead in the days and weeks and months and years. But as we heard eloquently from Dr. Kelly, it's going to be a grind, right? There's going to be some hard times. There's going to be some tough times. There'll be a lot of work involved, different types of grinds for everybody. But it's going to be a grind, and you're going to have to work really hard to earn that doctor of pharmacy. And, you know, most of you, I would bet, got into this profession or went into this profession because you had some kind of experience with family members going through tough times. Maybe you saw health care for those family members that wasn't so good. Maybe you saw it was excellent and you were inspired to do that. But that's what I want you to think about when you're reading this oath. Those patients you're going to come in contact with, every single person that you meet and you care for, from a newborn baby up to great grandma or grandpa at 95, 96 or plus. Okay, each one of those is going to need your expertise, and the only way you're going to get there is to grind, and it's going to be a lot of hard work. And so think about that patient you're going to be responsible for, and it's going to be sooner than you think. And so you want to prepare for that individual care that you're going to give. And so when you read that oath, think about those patients that you're going to care for, and don't make it just words. So anyway, that's all I would add to the excellent advice today. So if you would, please stand, and any pharmacists in the audience who would like to stand and join us, and we can recite the oath. I promise to devote myself to a lifetime of service to others through the profession of pharmacy. In fulfilling this vow, I will consider the welfare of humanity and relief of suffering my primary concerns. I promise inclusion, embrace diversity, and advocate for justice to enhance health equity. I will apply my knowledge, experience, and skills to the best of my ability to assure optimal outcomes for all patients. I will respect and protect all personal and health information entrusted to me. I will accept the responsibility to improve my professional knowledge, expertise, and self-awareness. I will hold myself and my colleagues to the highest principles of our profession's moral, ethical, and legal conduct. I will embrace and advocate changes that improve patient care. I will utilize my knowledge, skills, experiences, and values to prepare the next generation of pharmacists. I take these vows voluntarily with the full realization of the responsibility with which I am entrusted by the public. Thank you.
By closing the ceremony, I wanted to say that we are delighted to have you with us. As students, you are the most important people in this school, and we value your contributions and participation. We are glad to have you as part of our School of Pharmacy family, and we appreciate all intellectual and creative energy you bring with you. I urge you to set high goals for yourself and take advantage of all this campus offers. You are the reason we are all here, and we wanted to help you make the best your time with us. Please know that we remain committed to providing you with the quality education you deserve. I sincerely wish you all a successful and rewarding academic year. On behalf of the TTUHSC Jerry H School of Pharmacy, I thank you all for attending today and participating in this beautiful ceremony to celebrate the class of 2026, the beginning of their journey to become pharmacy professionals. I also want to thank the School of Pharmacy faculty, staff, who are all here to support this event, especially those who are working behind the scene. My office administrator, Mrs. Tony Johnson, for all her work to make sure the event run effortlessly. Mr. Jerry Brown from the Office of the Dean, and Ms. Rebecca Perry from the Office of Professional Affairs for their help. Thank you all Student Affairs and Admission team. After a busy orientation week for the incoming students, Amarillo class officers, student volunteers, Mrs. Amber Bistow, Director of Social Media at the School of Pharmacy, and Mr. Kelly, Social Media Manager at the TTUHSC. At this time, I ask the parents and guests, please remain seated during the recessional. After the recessional, all attendees will have a reception at the end of this building. Seating will be available in the student lounge and outside. Platform party, faculty, and students, please stand for the recessional. The platform party will lead the recessional, followed by faculty and students. Thank you again for coming. I appreciate for all